Will he lead the Eagles to the NFC title this season, gentlemen?
Yep. You know what you thought I was going to think about it, right? You thought I was going to think about it and be like, oh, no, Carson Wentz can't do it. Absolutely. Louis Riddick, who I really respect his knowledge, thinks that Carson Wentz is going to be this year's MVP. I don't necessarily believe that, but I believe he's going to play at an MVP level that we saw him play at 2 years ago before he went down versus the Los Angeles Rams. This team is made to help him. You go out, you get Jordan Howard from Chicago as a running back. That's a running game that the Eagles haven't had during his tenure. Now you go back outside, Deshaun Jackson can take the top off of a defense on the opposite side of Alshon Jeffrey. And Zach Ertz, one of the best pass-catching tight ends in the league. This is set up for Carson Wentz to make the comeback and grab a hold of this team in the way he has to as Nick Foles exit. Obviously, losing your backup right now is something you're worried about because of the injury concerns. They've been patient with Carson Wentz. They've allowed him to come back healthy. They've made sure that everything in the arrow for Carson Wentz is pointing up right now. This guy is going to be phenomenal this year. Doug Peterson has shown that he is one of the top new coaches in this league in his first 2 years in Philadelphia. And this team will win the NFC East. And I expect them to be playing against whether it be the Saints, the Rams, the Bears, the Carolina Panthers, whichever is the other team, will be playing the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship.
I do not think Carson Wentz will lead the Philadelphia Eagles to the top of the NFC East. Now, Ryan, I think you left out the best point in your argument, which is that nobody has repeated as division champs in the NFC East since 2004.
So that means the Cowboys can't?
It doesn't mean the Cowboys can't. That means the Cowboys can break the streak. No, I respect Louis Riddick as well, and he's told us about Jared Goff, Patrick Mahomes, and by the way, one of the guys he's talking up today is Jarrett Stidham, the backup quarterback in New England out of Auburn. But I don't think Louis is right when he tells me that Carson Wentz is going to end up being the MVP of the season. I don't think you're right when you tell me that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the NFC East. As I go through this, I don't understand the difference in opinion between the analysis of the Cowboys and the analysis of the Eagles. When I go through it step by step, offensive line, both have great offensive lines. Running back, edge Cowboys, no matter how much you like Jordan Howard. Wide receiver, tight end, edge Eagles. Defense, probably pretty close to a wash. The Cowboys defense was a lot better than people expected. I agree. Coach, edge, Eagles. But in the end, I believe in Dak Prescott at the quarterback position over Carson Wentz. I absolutely do. He wins in head-to-head. He wins in career accomplishments so far. Carson Wentz has 2/3 of one season that makes everyone an absolute believer. Now, that gets us to last night. Losing Nate Sudfeld is a big loss for the Eagles. Let me show you what Carson Wentz's career has looked like, not just in the pros, but dating back to North Dakota. I think we have this and put it up. It's injury after injury. It was a broken wrist in college. It was a torn ACL. His knee torn out put him out there at the beginning of his career. Last year, it was his back. This has been one injury after another. Now, what's behind him? Very little, Ryan. I know this from a year ago. Bill Polian was on ESPN Airwaves, and he said the Philadelphia Eagles value the backup quarterback position as a top 10 position on the roster, meaning that's how important it is. Now there's no Nick Foles. Now there's no Nate Sudfeld, at least for a while. The Philadelphia Eagles, by their own estimation, are much depleted today.
No, they are depleted today. I'm not questioning the fact that they need to figure out something at the backup quarterback position. You mentioned Jarrett Stidham. Could it be something where you make a call to the New England Patriots and say, hey, listen, you think Jarrett Stidham is your number 2? Give us Brian Hoyer so we can have a veteran backup behind Carson Wentz. What I think is Carson Wentz is going to play at such a high level this year. I think that Doug Peterson is going to coach at such a high level.
And make it all the way through the season?
Eagle, he's going to make it all the way through the season because he has to understand how to play him. There's so much that's asked of. Last year when Nick Foles began to play well, a lot of people talked about why the Philadelphia Eagles would step up around Nick Foles. Because early on, he didn't make all of these great throws. It wasn't necessarily that Nick Foles was winning these games by himself, but the team was elevated. I felt like Doug Peterson was elevated when he had to coach with Nick Foles and saying, you know what, I don't have this quarterback with superhuman or supernatural talent at the position when I don't have Carson Wentz. I believe that's the coach we see. I believe that's the coach we see protect their quarterback. That's why you go out and get Jordan Howard, because you want to make sure that the running game is stout. They've gotten better in the secondary this year. They've aged another year. There's more experience there. This team will be better all around. They'll protect Carson Wentz better. And I know he has to now understand how he needs to play this game. There's going to be no more diving for the extra yard.
These two teams are very, very similar. Not just equal, but very, very similar. I give the Eagles an absolute edge when it comes to coaching over the Dallas Cowboys. And I give the Cowboys an edge when it comes to quarterback play over the Philadelphia Eagles.
Is your edge only that you believe Dak Prescott can stay healthy? Because you can't take the production when these guys are available on the field and say that it's even close.
I absolutely can. Dak Prescott beats Carson Wentz on almost every measurable. Well, no, it's wins and losses.
No.
Yep, wins and losses.
Wins and losses when healthy?
Absolutely. Wins and losses. Quarterback rating, touchdown to interception ratio, completion percentage, yards per completion. There's only two statistical categories that Carson Wentz really beats Dak Prescott on. That's yards per game and total touchdowns.
Total touchdowns.
And that has been, as you pointed out, over a small sample size because of his health concerns. Now you take the quarterback position as a whole and you say you've got an injury-prone quarterback and no real backup behind him at this point. Maybe they make a move, to your point, because they do value the backup quarterback position. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to talk up what the Cowboys have behind Dak Prescott.
So give me Will Kane.
But give me Dak Prescott or Carson Wentz. I take Dak every day.
Will Kane, the GM, right now, says, I have an opportunity. I have a healthy Dak Prescott. I have a healthy Carson Wentz. You get to pick one. Which one you pick?
I'm taking Dak Prescott.
This is why you work with me, bro.
Do you think that the Eagles made a mistake letting Nick Foles go?
No, I don't believe they made a mistake. And not necessarily looking into the future and saying that this ends up where if Carson Wentz does get hurt and Nick Foles ends up playing well, they had to make a decision on their future. And Carson Wentz is their future. You invest in him as the number 2 pick. He plays well for you when healthy.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.